So here the mouth animation is still the same as it was at the end of the last video, but I've refined the body and also the eyes and the brows a bit. And I wouldn't quite call it polished, but now feels like a good time to move on to the mouth because the body is pretty much where I want it to be, and now by contrast the mouth looks a little bit worse and the problems stand out a little bit more. So I'm gonna play it for you and then I'll start to refine it.
From 1 to 10, about a 4. 5! From 1 to 10, about a 4. 5!
And some of the refinements I'm going to be making are kind of like what I was doing in the spline pass. I'm going to work some more with the ease ins and outs and the arcs on the corners. And in the spline pass, I just wanted to get everything in there and everything accounted for and looking decent. But now I'm taking another look at it, and I'm just going to see how I can improve it even more. So I'll do that. I'm also going to do a pass on the tongue, because I haven't touched that yet, and some other stuff. So I'll get started. And I'm not really going to polish anything here, because polishing can take a long time, and I don't think it's worth your time to watch me do it. But I am going to do another level of refinement and improve things a bit, and just kind of talk about what I see and my thought process about how I go about fixing it. So now I'm going to move on to 10. And I'm going to mute this so I can talk while I'm scrubbing through. And the trouble here is still in this corner. It's not a good arc. It kind of goes down, then juts out, and it's kind of clunky. And also the lips kind of speed up, then slow down, then speed up again. So part of the problem is once they connect, once they're pressed together, they rise up a lot, and I just think it's way too much. It's kind of like it's drifting up into a new pose. And that's coming from this controller. So yeah, they're connecting here, and then they go up a bit more, and I'm just going to lower that a lot. So, all right, so I like that. It's still moving out a little bit, so it's alive. But now it looks more like they just connect, and then there's pressure between the lips. It doesn't look like they're rising up too high for no reason. So that helps a lot, and that was where it was accelerating at the end. So now that part of it's solved. And what else? Oh, I'll work on the corner. And I don't always do this, but I figure I'll show it to you just in case you'd want to use it. Sometimes I'll select the faces of the mouth, or the faces that I want around the mouth, and then go to Show, Isolate, Select, View Selected. And here I didn't take the time to select the exact faces that I wanted, but earlier I did, and I made a bookmark out of them. So if I just go to Isolate, Select, bookmark, and then here's the one that I made for the mouth. So if I check that, then that's what gets Isolate selected. Then that's all that's showing up. And so now there's nothing else, which can help like for distractions. Like this is the only thing on your screen that you're looking at, so you're not distracted by anything else. And also it can improve your frame rate because it doesn't have to calculate as much. And now I'm going to try to fix up the arc on this corner of the mouth. So I'm going to use this control, this wide narrow control, and the X value is all I need. That's what makes it go wide and narrow. So I'm going to zoom in, and this is the start of it where he's saying 10. So I'm going to just step through and watch the corner frame by frame. And here it looks like it's going straight down, and then so straight down, and then it starts to come out to the side, and then it comes in a bit. So the biggest problem is here where it's going straight down then out. So I'm just going to try to, instead of going down and out, I'm going to try to curve it. So here I think it's good, and then I wanted to start to go out a bit. And then a little more. So yeah, I think that helped. And again, I'm not going to perfect it, but that's just the kind of stuff I would look for and refine a bit. And I guess here it comes in a little faster than I'd want, or a little more than I'd want. So I'll pull that up so it stays wide. So I want the whole thing to stay a little bit wider because it's going to, after he smacks, it's going to go into a narrow. So I'm just going to bring it all up so it's a little bit wider all the way through. I'll delete that key. I don't think I need it. Maybe that one too. I guess here it seems good up through here, and then it starts to come in pretty fast. So I'm just going to set a value there where I know I like that frame, and then here I'll widen it out a little bit. So that's pretty good. And now when he starts to open up into the smack, that's with, what's doing that? I guess that's the wide, and also the that's giving it going that way, and then the up down is happening with that control. So I'm going to grab both of those, and the extreme wide and the extreme up and down is on the same frame, so it's kind of linear. So I just need to offset one of them to give it more of a circular arc. So I guess I want it to start going wide before it goes down, so I'll just bump the Y value over. So now it just goes out like that and around instead of kind of straight down like that, or more of an arc. And now I'm going to show the rest of his face again, so I'm just going to uncheck View Selected. And I'm going to work on the smack now. And I'll turn the sound back on. And here I just want it to be open a little bit wider. So I'm going to go to this frame where the jaw's at its widest and just make it a little bit wider. And also the upper lip is raising before the bottom lip gets to it. Same thing that was happening after 10. It's happening here a little bit too. I just didn't notice it until now. So I'm going to use these two controllers to adjust the position of the top lip. And I just want the Y values, so I could select them each here in the graph editor outliner. Or if you want to select, like in this case, all of the translate Ys for all the controls I have selected, you can just go to the channel box and select the channel that you want. Then go to curves, isolate curve, and then it selects all of that channel. So if I had 20 controllers selected, it would have selected all 20 translate Ys. So that's just a tip that can come in handy. But here, now I'm just gonna drop in a bunch of keys because I know this in this area I'm gonna just do some dirty adjusting to make it look good on the character. So here, lower it. A little more. And all right, that's pretty good. And now I'm going to work with the wide and narrow because it's drifting a bit through here. You can see it drifting, and that's just happening because it's easing too slowly. But once his lips are closed, I want it almost all the way at its narrowest. So because it's a tight movement, like a smack and a pursed lip. So I don't want much drifting at all. So I'm just gonna take this value and move it over so it gets there faster. And I like that. And now I'm going to move on to about a 4. And the trouble with bout is his lips are closed, and then they open, and you see his teeth for one frame, and then his lip lowers and covers his teeth. So he's just flashing teeth for one frame, which is no good. So that's part of the problem. Also, he is held in this pose, and then there's no ease out of this pose. It just pops open like that. So I want there to be a little bit of an ease out into this open shape. So I'm just going to grab all these keys and move them back. So now this pose is closed, and here it starts to open. But I'm just going to grab these lip controls and lower them. So now it's closed here, it's still closed here. His lip is a little too pouty here, I think, so I'll grab this one. So, okay, so yeah, now it's kind of easing out of this held pose, going towards the open, then it opens, and now you don't see his teeth at all, which is nice. And so that's that. But I want to add some cheek puff right here when he's saying bout, like the air is building up inside his mouth before it releases into the B sound. So I'm going to grab the puff controls and I'll add some puff right before it opens. I'll start with a lot just to check the timing. I'm exaggerating it just so I can see it. And here, I don't want any. So it's releasing a little too soon. I guess the most extreme puff should be on the frame right before it opens. And then it's okay that there's still a little puff because it's like releasing through the open mouth for a frame or two. So I'll just minimize that a little. Still way too much. So, okay, that's cool. So I'll move on to 4. And here, it's opening a little too soon. So here you should still be in more of an F shape. You can see it's opening a little bit. His lip isn't in contact with his upper teeth anymore. So I'm gonna. I think I like this frame, so I'm gonna set a key here, but it's this frame in the middle that's no good. And to solve that, I'm gonna grab all these keys, and I have a hotkey that bumps it over a whole frame, but that's no good because it bumps it over a whole frame, then it's on top of this. I also have a hotkey that bumps it over 20% of a frame. So if here I'm on frame 98, and this is the value of the keys, but if I bump it over a couple of times, a fraction of a frame, the value of frame 98 is changing, and it's favoring these keys a bit. So then I'll press S and set the key here on the frame that I'm on, and these keys that are on the fraction frame are still selected, so I can just delete them. And that's just a way to to favor one frame or the other a little bit more or less. So I think that helped. It's still kind of in an F shape right here, and then it opens. Probably actually does open a little too fast, so I'm going to go to the jaw and close it a little bit, and I'm going to narrow it a little more. I remember earlier on I had the four, so I want to make sure I narrow it enough. I guess I should actually narrow it here in the F shape a little bit. Alright, I'm going to bump these over. Alright, that's pretty good. And here the transition between this R shape and this wide open shape is pretty direct and kind of boring. So what I'm going to do is take this shape, this cringe, and bring it over here. So now instead of a dull, direct transition to the open shape, I've added a breakdown pose to give it more texture and, I think in this case, more pain. And now here where it cringes, when I was refining the body, I added some elbow shake to the cringe. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the mouth. And I'm going to use the wide narrow. And here's where it's easing into that shape. And it's just smooth. So I'm going to add a couple of keys so I can give it some kind of some shakiness. And I'll see what that did. Alright, I like that. And then things start to get a little bit redundant, so I'm going to fast forward again. So I'm going to need a little bit of animation on the tongue here for this N shape, but I'm going to start with a 10 because it's just bigger and easier to work with. So I'm going to select my tongue controls. So I guess here when he's in the T, his tongue should be on the roof of his mouth, but I can't really see that. So I'm just going to go to the next pose where it's open, and then I'll rotate the tongue up a bit, and then I'll rotate the tip of it down, and that's about all I need. I want it to be pretty subtle, so I'm going to just use that pose. And I'll copy this here for the T. And I can use the same pose for the N. And after the T, I want it to drop a little faster, so I'm just going to delete this key. And I don't want it to get back to neutral either, so I guess I'll just put a key here, kind of in the middle value, and then kind of use that as my low point. A little lower. And I also want it to drop and settle a little bit between after the T before it goes up again for the N. So I'll grab these values, set a key, slide it over. And just bump this over because I want to see it drop a little more. I want to see it start a little bit higher. So, alright. And I'll just fast forward through the rest of the tongue animation that I do. Alright, so the last thing I want to do is just loosen it up in this part a bit. I'm going to use this control to give it some side to side, and that'll just add a little more life to it. So I think I want it to start going screen right as he's saying 10. So I guess this key is where it needs to be. And then I'll delete some of these. And here I want it to be at its widest point in this pose. And then I'll get rid of these extra keys, so now it's just transitioning from here to here. And here, when he settles in this pose, I want it to be a little more screen left. I'll just delete the stuff in the middle. And I'll hold it. And let's see. Because it shouldn't be, I want it to be going down into the bout and not to the right. Right now it's starting to the right and then going down. So that's no good. So I gotta just delay that. One more. That's good. And as long as I'm on this control, I'll grab the Y value. And here, it's up high and then starts going down here. So I'm just going to, I'll set a key here for this frame, but then I'm going to just bump this one back. That didn't help so much. Basically, I just want some ease down before it opens up for bout. So it's a little too much. So I'm going to do a play blast now, and my fingers are crossed hoping that it's good. And after you watch it, I'll be back with my wise and insightful final thoughts.
From 1 to 10, about a 4. 5! From 1 to 10, about a 4. 5!
My final thoughts aren't going to be that wise, but I do want to say thanks for watching. I hope that this lesson was beneficial to you in some way. Maybe you learned a little, maybe a lot, but I definitely hope that it was worth your time. And thanks again, and goodbye.